Hello, and welcome back to the Stitch Witch podcast. I'm your host, Ourielle, and I have a lot to catch you guys up on. I feel like I say this every single time, but I'm back with more updates. So we have no time. I'm racing against the clock. I'm racing against my battery. Let's just jump into it. So I pretty much decided on giving up on my podcast, as you might have been able to tell, because I have put like literally zero effort into my thumbnails, my SEO. I haven't done like literally anything to make this podcast worth watching. But I have found a surprising amount of people commenting on representation and having like, I don't know, just like more people, more diverse people and like people of different just styles and walks of life continue to post, because I think there's just a real need for that in the community, especially nowadays when we're really relying on, sorry, my bangs are messed up, when we are really relying on each other for emotional support and just like, yeah, just a sense of camaraderie in these trying times. Have listened to like maybe like 5 or 6 people on separate podcasts talk about like wanting to diversify their stream, or like being really intentional about who they watch, trying to find knitters and content creators who don't look like them. And as I have made a concerted effort to also like variegate who I watch, which I am pretty good about being fairly diverse in terms of like age, gender, sexual orientation, like country of origin, body shape, that kind of thing, like preference, fashion style, whatever. I feel like I do a pretty good job, but I never considered my piece in that. So that's a new consideration as to like why I might want to continue YouTube. I mean, my YouTube is largely for myself, and like I have a couple of friends and family who watch, which is cute. And for those guys who watch, I appreciate you guys, and I am flattered and touched. And I'm in a couple of like knitting groups online, and like sometimes people will like find their way to my channels, and I have some mutuals online, but largely this was just for me. And I never really thought of it as for anyone else. Like it just was a place for me to store my stuff. If you can hear the AC, I really apologize. I'm wearing a sweater and I want to show it off, so it's gonna be AC time. But yeah, I just never really thought that like anyone would need me to contribute, and yet I have been invigorated because I do feel like I bring an interesting DEI a DEI contribution, I think, to the knitting space. So I am making a concerted effort to see my creative act as not just something I do to pass the time and not just a hobby. I think really politically and deeply about my knitting. It's very, very important to me, not just because I like to do it with my hands, but I think it interacts so much with everything else in life. It's very political. It has to do with my disability. It has to do with mental health and feminism and my pagan beliefs, and like there's just a whole bunch of stuff that's like all rooted into my knitting. And I feel like if you are interested in that, if you are interested in the way that I think knitting can be countercultural, it can be so many things, stick around, because that's a lot of what ends up, you know, happening here. Okay, let us get through this. I lost my knitting notebook, so I spent the better part, I was fighting for my life trying to freaking get ready for today, and then I realized that I lost my knitting journal, which is devastating, but I have a lot of stuff to talk about. So first things first, in terms of finished objects, I have my Levitate wrap. This is a gorgeous Levitate wrap. This is the 3rd attempt that I made at a Levitate wrap. It is made with stash yarn. So all of my projects were stash projects. If you are new here, or if you're not aware, I am on a mission to stash down like a ton of yarn for this year. I have like a huge bookshelf of yarn back there, and you know, in the beginning of the year I was like really stressed about having so much yarn. Now I'm a little bit like, it's good because the tariffs are hitting and they're going to be affecting our yarn prices. But I did a lot of stash knitting, and this was no exception. I made this with drops no, I made this with Chinese kid silk, 2 strands, and a strand of Eddie Bauer Woolpaca, which RIP Joanne. It was a superwash merino and baby alpaca blend, 80-20, and I knit this up in around 500 grams of yarn. I knit the size 1. I didn't do any modifications except for the sleeve decreases, because in my first and second Levitate wraps I knit the sleeve decreases to pattern, and I found them way, way, way too narrow. So I did, let's say, I think hers was like every 7th row, and I ended up doing like every 10th row, and I think that was perfect. They ended up lining up perfectly on both sides. And for the double knit cuffs, I don't think I sized down as aggressively as she wanted. So let's say she wanted you to do a 4, I think it's like a 4.5. I don't really remember the details. Again, I didn't take notes because I lost my knitting notebook, but I am really pleased with the color and the fluff. I just think it came out beautiful. I did make my tie like a little bit too long, so it definitely like flops around in a way that I don't think it has to. And that's not perfectly ideal, but I still think it looks really, really fantastic. And it's obviously way too warm to wear this now, but I wore this on the New Jersey wool walk this weekend, and I got a ton of compliments because I think it just really makes my hair and my skin pop. This is just one of my best colors. I also, like, side note, if you don't want to do like a full-on color analysis, but you have a fairly good view of like what you think you are and you just want confirmation, I went onto ChatGPT. Yes, there are nuanced conversations to be had about AI, but like this was a one-time use. Listen, it's not like all or nothing. So I plugged in my photos and I was really specific about what I wanted, and I did a virtual color draping and I did everything, and I was correct. I am a bright winter, and this is one of my best colors. Like I have a bunch of bright winter colors in my wardrobe because I kind of like knew for a while based on what I liked, but it said specifically that milky lilac and cobalt blue are some of my best colors, and that is why I tend to, lo and behold, like knit in those colors. And I think it was successful. I think this looks really, really good. Another finished object I have, and this is not supposed to be a finished object, but it kind of is, all I have to do is weave in my ends, is my Sevilla top. This is my Sevilla, like, alpaca silk vest version, and I'm keeping it a vest because I think I messed up on the arm sleeves, that or I just knit a size too small, because I love the fit of the body and the boat, but just the sleeves, sorry, my battery ran out. Something is just not super good about these sleeves. Like, I don't know if you can see just how long this body is. Is that sleeve supposed to be so tiny? I mean, I know I have fat arms, but like, they're not so fat. Like, this is really, really tiny, and I think I knit a size small, which is my usual petite knit size. And her stuff is usually pretty oversized, and this didn't look like a particularly tight garment. And I'm just looking at this. I'm like, there's no world in which I would build a sleeve like this for a garment this shape, you know? Like, it just doesn't feel right. However, I didn't really want to figure it out at this point, and it does fit me as a vest. So I'm just going to wear this as a little vest, and I don't mind it on top of this mesh shirt, actually. It's just that now I have a really awkward length of the alpaca silk left over. I know for a fact, because I went to go pick up the sleeves, there's no way I was going to get, let's say, 60 sleeve stitches onto the needles. Like, there was no way in hell. I think I had like 40 stitches here, like if I picked up on a 1-to-1 ratio. So that definitely wasn't going to happen, and I was really frustrated to have like lost out on a fluffy long sleeve sweater, because I think that would have been super cute. But I am ready to try again with a summer fiber and maybe tackle it again later. But for now, this is definitely a very functional piece. Definitely good for layering. It gives me like a kind of decent amount of coverage because it goes over my shoulders, and it kind of gives me like a mini cap sleeve, like the miniest little cap sleeve in the world. And so it's not going to be super inappropriate if I wear it in the office, should I choose to just kind of wear it as a vest. I like I said, I like to layer it with the mesh top, and I think that looks good. So yeah, this is a finished piece. I give it a C because I don't really love it. I give this an A. I think this is fantastic. This is definitely one of my most successful sweaters. Maybe A- because I don't love the fact that this bottom flap is like a little tragic, and that my double knit button band is so long. Ooh, addendum to the Levitate wrap. I wanted to show you guys photos of my Levitate wrap when I first did a mid-project block. I wasn't fully done with the project. I think I had to put sleeves on, or maybe I had sleeves. I don't remember where I was in the project, but it was huge because I think the superwash just really has absolutely no friction, and it just slipped and it grew, I don't know, like maybe like 10 inches in length, and it was horrendous. I literally looked pregnant. I texted my friend and I was like, hey, this sweater is like so fucked up. I look so pregnant. And he was like, there's no way you look pregnant. I'm sure you look great. Send me the photo. And he took one look and was like, oh, yeah, that's not great. And then I showed my husband and he was like, that's the worst I've ever seen you. And I showed my best friend and she was like, yeah, it's tragic. Maybe throw it in the dryer or something. But our dryer is quarter op, and it's like 3 something. And I don't have $3 worth of quarters just lying around to like test out a dryer theory. So I just let it dry out, and I like prayed to God that it was going to shrink up again, and it did. So that was like genuinely, my heart sank because I've never ever looked so ugly in a sweater before in my life. Like, I am not, the way that I looked in that sweater was just like not what I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be short, cropped, like a little loungy, but like still very like cute ballet core polish, like very fresh and modern, and it just somehow looked so aging. I am spending my blood, sweat, and tears and my money on knitting the sweater that I wanted to look this particular way, like the picture that I was promised from My Favorite Things Knitwear, and I didn't get it, and it was really devastating to me. So yes. Also, speaking of devastating, my lip piercing, I finally was able to downsize, and stubbornly, in my defiance and in my like hubris of being like, oh, I'm a heavily pierced girl, I can do it myself. My lip piercing swelled up in the process of trying to change out my jewelry. And because it was so tiny, I couldn't get the ball bearing onto my bottom lip area. And I watched as my lip piercing closed up within a matter of minutes, and now it's gone. It's gone. It was gone within minutes, and it was so sad because I put the piercing in and I saw what it looked like with the correct piercing size, and it looked so cute because until now I've had the long piercing to accommodate for swelling, and you know, it's ugly to have like the long you know, thing you can fiddle around with. And it finally healed to the point where I was able to like play with it, and it felt good, and I loved it, and I was feeling so confident and so beautiful with my vertical labre. It looked so amazing, and every day I would wake up and I felt like a great version of myself, and then I lost it. And so I think we're coming on like 5 days of me not having it anymore, and it's just so sad. It's so sad. I'm gonna get it repierced probably next month, and then I'm gonna have to wait another 2 months for it to, you know. Anyway, next finished object is a gift. So this is the fun one. I went over to my friend's place, this is the friend who I made so much stuff for him. I made him the cowl, the fish halibut cowl. I made him the big poncho, and his wife got a cowl, a chevron cowl, and also a matching poncho. And he got the little like fish sunglasses case. And then they hosted us for a weekend because they live kind of far from us. It's like 2-hour drive. And not only did these people host us and like clean their whole house and, you know, make sure the whole place was, you know, guest ready or whatever, they literally paid for every single part of our trip. And this was my husband and I and his wife and him, right? So it was just like a very, very expensive trip. And then obviously, as you know, in Sevilla, they were like, we refuse for you to pay us back for any of it. No. And I was like, no, this was like hundreds and hundreds of dollars of like food and entertainment that you have purchased. And we all know we're all too poor to like not pay each other back. This is ridiculous. And he was like, no, I'm not accepting payment. So I knit him a blanket. I knit their household a blanket because I went to their house and they have a really, really cutely decorated house. I wish I could send pictures and post them up here, but I don't think you would appreciate that. But their house is super, super cute, and they have like these 2 dogs, and their home is like super seasonally decorated, and it's just very tasteful, very cute, very, very cozy, and I could not find a single throw blanket like anywhere. And so I made them a little throw blanket. This is the linen stitch, and I kind of just self-drafted this. It is an alternating, it's a 2-color, and I carried the color all the way up. And this is Nordic Bloom, which is one of my favorite yarns, and it's in this really interesting purpley green earthy colorway. I really think they will enjoy these colors. There's also like an emotional reason why I wanted to give them Noro yarn. They're very like eco-conscious and animal-loving people, and Noro, if you don't already know, is super, super mindful about the way that they process their yarn. Their whole thing is that they're inspired by nature and they want to respect nature. So I'm sure if you've seen Noro, you know that it's like very thick and thin. There might be vegetable matter inside their product, and it's because they're very like wabi-sabi oriented. They want all their stuff to have that wabi-sabi appearance, and also to honor the natural look and fiber and kind of source of all these materials. So they don't use, I think, acid dye, or they don't neutralize their dye with acid. So it's easier on the water supply, and they do small batches, and I think they're really careful about like the wool and the farm that they get their wools from, because they don't want it to be to have any museling, I think is the word. So cruelty-free yarn, which I think is really important for this family that, you know, adopted 2 dogs, and like they're really into animal welfare. And I also think the color was perfect for their home, and also just like a color scheme that I think they like, because they like the earthy but colorful stuff. And then all the other yarn is American yarn. So this is a farm yarn that I got. It's a Cormo, which is a Ourielle merino blend from a local farm near my mom's place. So she lives in upstate New York. They have this really cool I guess it's like a yarn place where they sell they sell local yarn, and it's actually a shack, and it's like a pay, like, I don't know, I guess this is common upstate, but like sometimes there are eggs, and you like buy the eggs and you just put the money in a box, and like they just trust, you know, the honor system that you've done something. And for this particular place, I remember I had to write down what I bought, and then I just put the money in a box, and I thought it was really reasonably priced. I don't remember how much it was. I think it was maybe like $20 a skein, and for like locally processed yarn, that seems pretty good to me. And then the border is this cloud paca, which has been in every single project that they've gotten from me. So I just felt like I wanted to continue that. So this used up around 700 grams of yarn as well. And this was, I think, 600, if I didn't mention it already. So yeah, doing really well on the stash. All of this stuff was from stash, and I stashed down like a good number of random balls of yarn. So I had 5 balls of the Noro Kudeon. I had a couple of like fisherman's wools that I used up for this beigey color, the contrast color, 2 of the Cormo blends, and then 1.5 of the Cloud Paca. And so yeah, this is the blanket. It's a really, really nice size. I haven't really measured it, but it's definitely pretty substantial. Like I can lay my entire body like inside of it and then still have, you know, a substantial amount left over. So I think it'll be nice for one person to cuddle up on the couch, but not so big that it becomes like overwhelming, you know. Sometimes I think a blanket is so big that it's not the easiest thing to like lug around. And what I love about this is that it has a lot of drape and it's very, very lightweight. But it's really warm. And I think this will be so, so nice for camping. They are also like outside-y people, and he does a lot of like outdoor stuff. So I think and obviously, you know, if they need to fight over it, that's fine, because I only made enough pillow or enough blanket for one person. This is definitely not like a 2-person snuggler. So even though this is for the household, I suspect they're probably gonna have to fight over this blanket because it is the nicest blanket I've made. I have a friend who came over today. She was like, I think this is the nicest thing you've ever crocheted, and also the nicest blanket you've ever made, just because it's so cohesive. Like you clearly went in with a plan, and it just looks really good, and I'm really pleased with myself. All the ends have been woven in. It has been soaked and cleaned and blocked. It doesn't really smell bad. It definitely has a slight woolly smell, but it's very, very pleasant. It's very nice. I personally am partial to a woolly smell as long as it's not wet, because then when it gets wet, it's like stinky. But while it's dry, I think it's just charming. It's a charming smell, and I hope they like this. I'm really excited to gift it to them. This has been a really, really fun crochet. I did this on 5mm needles because you're supposed to size up for the linen stitch. And I just did that all the way around. I just did the continuous carry all the way up square, and then I did around, I don't know, what is this, like 3 inches of the plain, 2 rows of a contrast, and then 4 rows of the border. So that is my last finished object. I think that's pretty good. So I finished a vest, a full-on sweater, and a whole blanket in the last month, I think, or 3 weeks since my last update, and that's pretty good. However, we do have some whips as well, so let's get into that. My first whip is my single malt sweater. So this is the single malt. I had put a progress keeper since the last time, and I knit about this much. Ooh, and a bunch of stitches just fell out. Okay, sorry, I had to just put this back on the needles. So since the last time we spoke, I knit about that much, which is really not that much because I haven't knit on this too tremendously, but I did do a mid-project block, and it's looking pretty ginormous now, which is nice. So this is almost the full waist to the length of the sweater. I think I need to knit another 4 inches of body, 3 or 4 inches of body before I can start ribbing. And then I will start to pick up on the sleeves, and I think that will be when we really start cooking with gas and I feel better about knitting on this like heavy Aran weight sweater. But it looks really good. Like I have no complaints about it. You know, the yarn has been holding up because I have left this on the couch. The cats have slept on it. It's just picked up a lot of dirt, but somehow it still looks good. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased with the sweater. It's chugging along. It is just like a large men's sweater. It's a size 5. I'm knitting it oversized. I'm knitting it on pretty big needles. These are 5mm needles, and it's an Aran weight yarn. So, you know, it's a lot of knitting. Like, I mean, it could be worse. It could be a DK weight yarn. I'm never, I mean, maybe way later in my life when I have like more time than space, I can knit a DK weight sweater for my husband, but like, it's already a lot. And it's not fun. I don't like this. I don't like seat stitch. I know people are like, texture is fun, but maybe texture that's not knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl is fun. Knitting and purling like one after the other is just a rib. Okay, let's be for real. I would rather knit a ribbed hat than knit this, because at least a ribbed hat looks like a lot of like work. This one does not. This one doesn't particularly look like that much work, and there's no relief from it. But if you haven't seen it already, it's just a regular raglan top-down sweater. I modified the collar to be a folded down collar instead of the regular stand-up collar, and besides that, I'm knitting it fully to pattern to a size 5. So that is the next whip. Not what I'm currently working on, unfortunately. I probably should. I should just set a timer and work on it like 30 minutes a day, but alas, I just don't want to. And then one whip that I have at work and not here is my pirouette shawl. That's still happening. I still don't have photos of it. I'm sorry. I will eventually show you guys this project because it'll be done, but it's just not been the most exciting thing. Like I do a square here and there when I can. It's just a triangle based modular shawl, and it's actually really easy to do. I love, you know, working on it in meetings because it's kind of mindless, but it's also just not super riveting for that reason. The colors are fun and that's nice, but because I don't have pictures of it, I just don't feel like updating you guys on that right now. Okay, I have some cast-ons to share with you guys, and so we'll go in time order. Let me go grab one. I have this magnificent book from Alice Hoyle, and she's better known as Rose Knitwear, and I want to knit almost every single pattern in this book, and that's not a super common thing for me, but I am working on this sleeve top because I saw something from Noctex, I believe. I'm not sure if that was the brand or if it was a different brand, but it's, you know, like I get the targeted ads for the alternative girl clothing, and it was this really interesting kind of reversible or like modular multi-use shawl wrap scarf sleeve combo. And I took one look at that thing and I was like, that reminds me a lot of something that I've seen in a book. And it was very suspiciously similar to the Wraparound top from Rose Knitwear. And I remember at the time I commented on this Instagram post, several of them, and I was like, hey, this actually looks a little bit like Rose Knitwear's, you know, sleeve top. And I got the comment erased and my account blocked. So I don't know if the owner was just like not having it that day, or maybe, you know, because it was an ad, it was flagged. But yeah, I do think it's suspiciously similar. I had purchased a couple of hanks of the Cascade 220 in this color. I think it's like Heather Storm or something. I mean, it's 1091. So it's this like dark grayish, greenish, heathery black. I bought it on sale because it was $5 a ball or something absurd. It was very, very cheap. And it wasn't as advertised. When I finally got it in the package, I was like, oh, this is like green. This is like not at all a charcoal black. And it's fine. I didn't mind it. I think like the greenish, yeah, it is just like greenish. It's like yellowy green, but it does add some texture to an otherwise all black wardrobe. And I decided to hold it double with itself. So 2 strands of the Cascade 220 plus 1 strand of black mohair. And it got me a pretty nice bulky weight. This is the Wraparound top knit worsted weight held double on 10mm chunky needles. Now I don't have 10mm needles and I don't have 10mm DPNs, so there was no way I was going to do this on that. And so I ended up modifying this pretty freaking heavily to do it on 8mm because that was like the biggest that I had in both, because this small circular cuff requires you to work on a small circumference, and I was not going to do magic loop on like a 36 stitch project. That just like was not going to happen. So I wanted to use DPNs. And the largest DPNs I had were, I think, a 7. So 7mm on the cuffs, 8mm on the body. I forgot to size up, so I'm knitting the smallest size, and it definitely is like she's tight on me. So I'm not going to wear this probably until fall. And it is really just like a scarf with sleeves at the end. It's really interesting construction because you start on one cuff, then you knit all the way down, and then at one point you just stop knitting the sleeve and you just knit like a flat panel. And there's like a little bit of ribbing just to finish the edges, and it's really thoughtful. I mean, Alice is always really, really good at this kind of thing. So her finishes are really nice, really clean. It's almost like double knitting. It looks really, really, really tight, really beautiful, really seamless. And so yeah, that's the sleeve so far. There's not really much to show, but it's going to look beautiful, like a scarf little sleeve situation. And I'm around like 55% of the way done with this. This is a really mindless project, and for now, because I have so much of this like body to go, it's not the most captivating to knit, but that's fine. I like having a stockinette project just to like knit on when I'm watching TV or something. Ideally, it like literally requires no effort, so this was also my commute. Knit for a while. I went to go visit my friend in the city, and so I had to take a 2-hour bus ride, and so I knit that there. And also when you're like having conversation with people, this is a nice one to knit on because it goes pretty quickly, and also each of the rows is so short that you can see a lot of progress. So I do like this one. I think all of this was like 2 days of knitting, right? So it's going to be done by next podcast episode for sure. I just don't know if I can actually wear it in the video. It's just extremely tight and not the most comfortable thing. And it kind of makes me self-conscious about my body in a way that I don't love. But yeah, I had all of these little balls of yarn and then just the last one, which I'm going to have to wind up on itself to hold double. So yeah, that's my next whip. I have well, okay, here's the next thing. I cast on for the Nordic Bloom vest, which very, very, very excitingly, if you don't know already, Caitlin Hunter or Boylan Knitworks, she had this really, really beautiful, stunning, it was a cover piece. So this was for the Nordic Knits Lina issue, and it was absolutely stunning. It was the whole reason why I wanted the copy of the magazine. but I have not been able to find it anywhere, and I want to buy it in person because I have never actually used, like, I have, like, you know, like book patterns, but this is really the first one that I've used religiously, like more than once. I typically collect a lot of knit books and I don't actually use them because I find sometimes the writing is a little bit difficult for me as a novice knitter. I think now I don't really consider myself a novice. I consider myself like advanced beginner or like maybe intermediate knitter. And I still need my hand held slightly. Like, I don't know if I really need it, but I like having my hand held. And there's a lot of things I haven't done before. And so I'm very cautious about like jumping in headfirst with books where, you know, each page is very, very precious and they don't necessarily, yeah, they just have to be very judicious with like how they're printing stuff. So I think sometimes written patterns in books, in like publications can be difficult. And I know how hard it is to like scale everything down to size and get all the like formatting and everything correct. So I have always been a little bit cagey about buying these, you know, these magazines like Lina and Pom Pom magazine and like all these little publications. I go into my favorite knitting stores in the city and I see all these beautiful books and I just have always held off a little bit because they just look intimidating. And so I wanted to look at the Nordic Knits issue to see specifically if it felt like something I could tackle, but I could not find it in person anywhere. I think I had gone to like freaking 8 or 9 stores looking for this magazine, not like on purpose, but anytime I would go to a knitting store, I would make a concerted effort to check to see if they had the Nordic Knits book, and they never did. And at this point, I think it's like a year-old issue. Like, it's not really even new anymore. But finally, I guess Caitlin got the okay to finally post the pattern for, you know, independent sale. And I think that, you know, that's normal. You know, the designer will make a design for like a book or a magazine or, you know, like a yarn company, and they won't be able to sell it on their own for a certain amount of time because obviously they're doing it in collaboration with a company. And so I knew that was prone to happening. I just didn't know that it was happening today, that they were going to release it today. And so all Wool Walk weekend, I had been looking for this magazine issue and I wasn't able to find it in any of the 5 stores that I had gone to throughout the state. I went to 5 different knitting stores in New Jersey and I couldn't find this Lina issue anywhere. And at night, I was like, oh my god, I want to cast something on with all this yarn. What do I do? Lo and behold is the Nordic Bloom vest. I excitedly went into my stash. I checked a ton of different yarns against each other. It is a bulky weight gauge, knit on 5.5 millimeter needles, I believe. Either 5 or 5.5, but it's pretty chunky. And so I was trying to figure out like what to do, you know, with my yarn to make sure that it looked good. And to see if I don't have my needles with me. But anyway, I was trying to be really good about using my stash yarn. And then I came up with the black and pink combination that you see here. It's honestly not even that exciting. It's just black patterns, worsted weight with mohair, and then drops air and drops alpaca silk in pink. So classic black and pink color scheme for me, at least for my first one. And I messed up 3 times in a row. And I think this pattern requires you to cast on like 165 stitches or something. And to cast on and cast off and knit and rib and to undo and unpick like 160 something stitches 3 times in one day was like really demoralizing. And I didn't want to keep going. So I just gave up and I did something else. So this is a whip / cast on and also not a whip cast on because probably by the next time you see me, I will have some amount of this done. I really want to make this more than once, I think. I think I like the idea. Sorry, I'm so excited about this knit that I can't even speak straight because I've been waiting for this vest for so long that it almost like it has to be perfect. But what I'm trying to say is I was so drawn to the cover piece because it's this beautiful combination of green and pink. I love green and pink together as a color combo. And I just figured, you know, the green is really olivey and the pink is really peachy, but if I change the colors to be more like my speed, I think it should be fine. So I tried to dig in my collection. I have like a dark petrol teal color. I thought maybe I could do like a dark petroleum teal with a cool pink. And I think it's fine. It's cool. I just don't know that it's super wearable all the time. So I didn't end up going with that one. I mean, we'll see. I was thinking of swatching a couple of different color schemes to see which one I like. But then I got really impatient and I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to start because the time I spent swatching, I could just knit like more than one version of this vest. So TBD on like what I end up doing. But because I messed up so many times in a row, I actually have nothing right now. So this is just to say this will be a Nordic Bloom vest. It actually requires very, very little yardage, which I think was fascinating. I think it's only like 100 something yards of the contrast color and maybe like 400 yards of the big one. which is amazing. Like, I can't believe it requires so little. And if I can actually knit it from stash, I will be even more enthusiastic about it. And if I can knit 2 of them, all the better, because there's also a cardigan version. So I think that would be cute as well. And then the last cast on that I have is a clone of a commercial piece. So I have this Uniqlo cardigan that I absolutely adore. It is just a plain V-neck cardigan with the perfect boxy fit. The rib on the bottom is quite substantial. The sleeves are relatively straight, and it also has like a nice clean rib. And it is, I think, 60% acrylic, 30% nylon, and like 5% wool, and then there's a little bit of something else inside. It's just really not like a nice, comfortable, like it's comfortable and it's nice, but it doesn't feel like a big girl sweater, you know. It definitely feels like plastic. And, you know, what did I pay for it? Like $35? You know, like I can't actually be upset with the sweater given like what I paid for it. But I was thinking, as I was depilling it the other day, it would be nice to have, you know, a nicer version of it, because I am myself a knitter and I can knit myself a really nice version of this, you know, this thing. I don't need to like keep shopping for fast fashion cardigans. And ever since I started knitting, I actually really haven't bought much clothing at all, save for things like skirts, like dresses, like just anything that's not knit, basically, right? Like I have like summer clothing that I needed to buy. So like recently I bought a pair of like cotton pants, but those are just not knit garments, right? Like for anything like cardigan related or sweater related, I think I've been a lot better about waiting to knit stuff. And so this is an example of me wanting to be really good. So I cast on the champagne cardigan. Here, let me show you guys what progress I have now. I cast this on last night and I had a really, really terrible evening, so I wasn't able to do that much. But here's what we have so far. And I'm really pleased with it. So this is also made with stash yarn. I'm very pleased with like all 3 of my projects being stash yarn. It is Patton's Classic Wool Worsted in the charcoal gray, and I held it double with this gray mohair. Also just my standard Chinese mohair. I don't know how easy it will be for me to get a hold of this in the future, because I was swimming in it earlier and using it with reckless abandon, and now I feel like I'm gonna have to start finding different alternatives because it was just so cheap and I was so spoiled. But yeah, this is the fabric. It's looking so, so, so cute. It's like a marled or a heathered look as opposed to super marled like this. I don't know. I mean, this feels pretty marled to me, my cobalt blue sweater. But yeah, I'm pretty pleased with this. I have antler buttons that I harvested off of a Shein sweater from like 2 years ago. Because even back then I was like, I need to collect these buttons for sewing or something. So let me go get the buttons. And also I purchased buttons from my wool walk. So let me go show you the buttons first. I keep all of my buttons in this really, really cute Royce chocolate tin. And it's like completely overflowing with buttons because I am officially a button girl. And I got buttons from my grandma, and I get buttons when I go out to shop. Anyway, I have these horn-shaped buttons. I think they're really, really cute. And I have 4 of them. So that's perfect for the champagne cardigan. I'm looking at this and I feel like this color match is pretty... Okay, goodbye. Let's get another one. Let's bring another one out onto the stage. Okay, I think this is going to be pretty cute. It is fairly bold. Like, you know, against the shade of gray, they do stand out a little bit. And the cardigan that I'm duping has very understated dark buttons. They're like just a standard, you know, black faux horn button. And the thing about buttons is like, you want them to look good, because I think a bad button can cheapen your garment very readily, and these are like Shein buttons. But when I go online to look up horn buttons or like antler shaped toggle buttons, they all look like resin. They all look like this. None of them look better than the Shein buttons. You know, to be honest, to buy a pack of buttons on Amazon would cost me the same as whatever the original cardigan I ripped this off of cost, because I'm sure I paid, I don't know, like $10 for this freaking cardigan in 2022, right? So yeah, just in terms of harvesting, I don't regret doing it. I think it should work. My only issue is I don't know if the buttonholes are going to be the same construction. I think, I don't know. If you're aware, let me know. When you make buttonholes for toggle buttons, do you make them any different than you would for regular buttons? Because you're not dealing with so much diameter, you know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't need that much space because it's going in horizontally and not like the full, I don't know, the full breadth, I should say, of the button. Let me give an example of what I'm actually trying to say instead of just fussing around. Okay, so with a regular button, the hole has to be big enough to accommodate the whole button, but with this one, because it's like flat, it should only be like 1 or 2 rows, right? To me, it just feels like I might have to change the buttonhole around. I am going to check what it says on the My Favorite Things Knitwear cardigan number 9, because I think cardigan number 9 is the one that has the toggle buttons. And if she has different instructions compared to Petite Knits, I guess I'll try to figure it out. We will get there when we get there. I literally just cast this on last night, so it's like a long, long, long ways away. I also think I was recommended to check the Florence Miller video on not cutting the thread, because when you do the buttonhole, I think her version of the champagne cardigan requires you to cut the thread after every single buttonhole, and that requires you to weave in a lot of ends. I personally don't really mind weaving in ends. I say this with trepidation because it's not like I like to weave in ends. I don't hate it. So to me, there's a balance between like experimenting with a new video and a new technique when the original one might just suffice and require a little bit more labor. So TBD on that. Obviously, I literally just started this, so we're like weeks away from me even having to do the conversation about the button band. And might I say, I love a button band. This one, the Levitate wrap, required a lot of double knitting. So double knitting, I think it's like 26 inches on one strap, 13 inches on the other strap, all the way around a wrap cardigan at the neck and on the waistline. So it was a lot of double knitting, and I actually enjoyed it the whole way through. I think it's so little thinking. And you can just do it like without even really looking. Like obviously you want to look just to make sure you're doing the right thing on the right side, but it's so quick and easy that I'm actually really looking forward to the double knitting on this project, even though it seems like a lot of people find it to be the most tedious part. So yeah, we're a long ways away, but I am looking forward to that part, so that's exciting. And then the last thing to talk about is acquisitions. I mean, I have a ton of acquisitions. I had acquisitions from an online order I placed on the Wool Warehouse site last podcast episode, which was maybe a month ago at this point. And then also the New Jersey Wool Walk just happened, so I have stuff from there. Let's head into just the Drops stuff first. I just bought a bunch of black yarn from Drops because they were really cheap. So I bought Belle and Bomulin. And my exact quantities were in the last video, but it's just summer yarn. I'm not actually that excited for it. Like, I got it in, and I was super, super excited to get yarn. And then I opened it up, and I was like, oh, this is just a bunch of black yarn. It's actually not that exciting. And it's plant-based yarn, so it doesn't feel very good. But Drops Belle is a dupe of Line from Santa's Garden. So anything made from Line or Tin Line, held double, or, you know, whatever I can use this for. So I was thinking maybe an Anchor summer sweater, a ranunculus, a Tulsa tee, like Sevilla top, like literally anything that uses Line and one of the like recommended yarns. You can just use Drops Belle. And then the Bomulin I bought because it's cotton linen blend, and like that promises to be very good. But in reality, I'm touching this and it feels like horrendous. And also look at how splitty this is already. This is literally just a bunch of like threads put together. Like, it just looks horrendous to knit with. And I guarantee you this is gonna like throw my hands through the 7th or 8th circle of hell. The new circle of hell is gonna open up and it's just knitting with plant fiber. And when I went on the wool walk yesterday, I touched a bunch of plant fibers, and a lot of them feel better than this one. So I think Cascade has a Pima cotton that feels really, really good. You know, Santa's Garden obviously has a ton of like plant-based fibers that don't feel good. I even touched the Knitting for Olive Pure Silk recently, and I hear that one is terrible, but it can't possibly be worse than this because this actually just feels like hemp. Like hemp rope, not even like hemp yarn. I mean, obviously it is hemp yarn, but it's so stiff. I might hold it with like a merino or something because it just is so unforgiving. So TBD on what I want to make with these things. I clearly have my hands full with other projects, ATM, but for like true summer knitting, I probably will need to like switch over to actual plant fibers. But yeah, so that was my stuff from my original order online. And of course that also came with my Cascade. Oh no, this whole thing just exploded. This also came with my Cascade 220, and I already used up 2 hanks of that. So we've added stuff into the stash and then immediately kind of stashed it out quickly. And then we went on the wool walk, and I didn't really give myself restrictions for the wool walk just because I'm like, I need to make good financial decisions anyway, so there is a cap to what I can buy. Also, the sales are not like that tremendous. I think the wool walk is more about like vibes than anything else. Like, you can definitely find better clearance online if you are really looking for like bottom dollar stuff. But it is nice to like visit the local stores and like say hi to, you know, the employees and people that you know. And I was hoping to run into some mutuals and stuff, but I didn't end up doing that. But I did manage to score some really, really fun yarn. And I was like, live streaming the thing to my friends. Basically, I was in a group chat being like, and here's the next place, and here are all the yarns that they have on this table, and here's what they have here. And so people were giving their feedback, and it was fun. So first I stopped at Yarnia because they were doing 30% off Noro, and I managed to score this really, really beautiful ball of Noro Viola, which is one of the first Noros I ever purchased. And I like Noro in general. If you guys are on my channel to any degree, you know I like Noro. And after finishing this blanket, I decided I wanted to buy some Noro for our own home. I don't actually have any solid plans for what this is because it's a little less varied than I wanted. I was hoping to get one of the Itos because Ito has more color variation. It's like actually stripy. And this one is more just like tonal. And so I'm still holding on to this. I'm not really sure what I want to do with it yet. It's not like my best color because it's not quite bright and minty enough. It's still a little bit dull. So in a super, super ideal world, I would get a really bright, minty, like almost like chewing gum colored like strand to hold with this just to brighten up the color a little bit. And once it gets a little bit brighter, I can knit something that goes like around my face, like a neck accessory or like a hood or something like that. And if I can't find that, then I will turn this into, I don't know, some part of a crochet blanket or something like that. Probably not crochet because I know crochet uses a lot more yardage. I might do a knit shawl or knit blanket using this color. I also, so that was the first store I went to. That was Yarnia. Cute. They had like a lot of La Bien-Aimée there. And they had a lot of clearance, but I wasn't particularly interested in any of the clearance that they had there. So yeah, we moved on from there fairly quickly. I then moved on to the local yarn store in South Orange. And I picked up these two skeins of Malabrigo yarn in the Arroyo. Yeah, I think they're both Arroyo. That's the base. And it is a superwash merino in, I think, a sport weight. Maybe a light DK. It's 335 yards for 100 grams, 20 to 22 stitches. But 300 feels a little bit high for DK. I don't know, am I crazy? I feel like 300 is high for DK. This one is in the color Marte, and this one is in the color Jupiter. And my friend was like, please just buy them and make me something. I'll pay you back. These are beautiful, and I love these like rusty red browns. So yeah, they're very similar, but actually slightly different. I'm hoping to hold them double and make a 2x2 hat. So this is the hipster hat dupe because the hipster hat, I think, is fine, but it's like a very, very basic hat, and I don't necessarily feel like I want a pattern for it. It was either going to be the hipster hat or the antler toque from Tin Can Knits, and I think it'd be cute. Held together, I think this will be like a light DK / worsted weight, and we'll see. I'll have to swatch, you know, to see. I think a ribbed hat might be a little bit more forgiving on like someone whose head size I don't have like ready access to all the time, but it is superwash, so it's not going to be scratchy. I don't think he really cares about scratchiness per se, but it'll be nice for me to knit on this double stranded, and I think this will be gorgeous. It's not a color that I usually wear, but putting it up against my face, it's cute. And they had another one that I didn't end up buying, but I should have because it's actually very pretty. But it is like a reddish gray color. Oh my god, it's like vampire-y. It was like gray, red, black. And I just know these variegated yarns like tend to look better than they knit up. I definitely would have purchased it and then been like, okay, now like, what the fuck do I do with this thing now that I have it, because I don't necessarily want it. So yeah, that's this. Then I went to the last store, which was Knit Tapestry. And I don't know where that was, but she had an amazing, amazing sale. So most of the stuff was 40% off. So I got these 3 skeins of yarn from the Dream in Color brand. These are both on the classy base. 2 of them are in the color Anything Goes. And can you guess who this is for? It's not me. It's my husband. I don't know what he wants out of this. I'm thinking also a hat. Or maybe a scarf. Or maybe a hat and mini scarf. Or maybe fingerless gloves. I don't know. But I got 2 skeins of this. It's going to be around 400 yards. So we're going to be dealing with an accessory of some sort. And then I got myself 1 in Enchanted. And I think this is like the perfect colorway. Oh my god, it's so cute. I love, this is like my favorite. It's so cute. With mohair, I think it'd be so adorable. And that's the same brand. She also had these balls of Plymouth Galeway yarns. This is in Sport. And I wanted Knitting for Olive cornflower. That was when I went into the New Jersey Wool Walk. I was like, if I can find anything in KFO cornflower, I want to get it. And she didn't have cornflower, but she did have this, and she had it for $5 a ball. So I picked up 5 balls. That was all she had. look, this is basically poppy blue, right? This is the same color, and I really, really like it. I think it looks good on me. It's brighter than the cobalt. I wanted something that was this kind of like chroma, this really, really bright blue that I think I look good in, but a little bit lighter than the cobalt. I have a friend who has similar coloration to me, and she has a color sweater. She has a sweater this color, and she says it does a lot of heavy lifting. Like, people always compliment her, even though the sweater is pretty basic and it's not super nice. People love this sweater on her, and I would agree. I have 5 balls of this, which means I don't have enough to do a whole sweater. I have enough to do like a vest, and so I'm thinking of getting some matching mohair, but it would have to be like the exact right color. I'm probably thinking it'll just be the knitting for olive, because I know for a fact that one will match. But yeah, I think I would want it to be like a really good garment, like something that I'm really proud to own and something that I don't cut corners on. Sometimes I cut corners, like for instance, this one, I didn't want it to be so marled, but I was just trying to knit from stash, and so I didn't really care to pay more for a better finished object. I just wanted to use up my yarn, and in this case, I really want the mohair to match and for it to look really excellent. And so I'm thinking to buy the Knitting for Olive mohair eventually, when I actually am ready to knit something out of this, because it's like a smaller quantity of yarn. I don't think I'll be able to get a full sweater out of it, but I might be able to do either a ranunculus, which is like light, or maybe like a love note sweater, which uses, you know, less yardage, or I can do a vest. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking I would like to pair this with the mohair. I'm thinking I want it to look really, really good and like solid. I also found this. This is a ginormous hank of yarn. If you can tell, it's 300 grams of yarn. This is from the brand, and I've never seen this before. It's called Comspots and Woolmeise? Woolmeise. Lace Heirloom in Lilac. And so this is a lace weight, hand-dyed lilac skinny yarn. It's my favorite shade of lilac. I frequently buy things in this color because I just think it makes me look like my skin looks creamy and glowing, and like my hair looks dark and shiny, and my eyes look bright and sparkly. I just think this looks really, really flattering on me. And we were just talking about it when I was heading over to the yarn store. They were like, if you can find something... 1 minute. So speaking of this color, in the group chat, when I was like, I'm heading to the next store, everyone was really excited to see what I got, and they were like, send pictures, blah, blah, blah. And my friend was like, here are some flowers that are blooming in my garden, look how pretty it is. And people were like, Dana, if you can find, girl, if you can find yarn this color, definitely snatch it up, because it's gonna look so good. And this was the exact color, and it came out so cute. Granted, this is huge, and again, it was 40% off, so I got it for a really good price. It's 574 yards, but it's lace weight. So realistically, I would want to hold it double at least, because I don't know what I would do with this lace weight. I guess what I could do is hold it as like a faux a faux fluff, just to like kind of bulk up some of my like weights. Like frequently I will have, I don't know, like this brushed alpaca silk, and I might want to add a little bit of thickness to it, and so it might be nice to have a little bit of this yarn just to carry with. So again, TBD on what I'm actually going to make with this. If you have any ideas, let me know, but it is a lace weight, so it's extremely skinny, and I don't think I want to knit with it on its own. I have no desire to knit a lace weight shawl or like a scarf or anything like that right now. It's just not in the cards for me, but it is hand-dyed, so you can see some of that beautiful variation. It's not perfect. And there was only one, or I would have bought 2 to have like a more like solid quantity of this stuff, but it feels excellent. It's all merino, so super, super soft and squishy, and the color was fantastic, and it was 40% off, so no complaints there. And then the last thing that I purchased at that store was this Plymouth yarn in the Galway worsted version. So this was around 210 yards for 100 grams. I think I'm going to make a weekend hat for this. I just think this had to be a hat. I think Petite Knit's weekend hat is bright green, and so that's why I was inspired to do bright green. And besides the Petite Knit weekend hat, I know the squiggle scarf is also bright green. I'm actually considering getting another ball of this, or 2, because the lady has them. They're just in her house. And the wool walk is still going on today, and they're 20% off. So I can get this for like $7, $8, and that's pretty freaking good. But I spent a lot of money at the wool walk. I don't want to spend any more money. But yeah, I really like this green. It's not something that I own anything in so far, but I think it would be a really cute pop of color in like an otherwise all black outfit. Okay, rushing. When I went to another store, I spun the wheel at the local yarn store, and they gave me this tiny mini neons sock yarn. So this is from Universal Yarns. This is the Uni Merino Uni Merino mini neons, and it's just cute. It's really adorable. It's a 25/75 superwash merino and nylon blend. This is literally the perfect neon pink. I actually don't even think you can see it because it's so blown out. But I would love to make socks with this as the contrast color. I think it would be perfect. And then I got some Knitting for Olive mohair in ballerina. No, I got some Knitting for Olive ballerina. So I went to Renegade Art and Craft Fair in the city, I think 2 weeks ago, and Who Made was selling her yarn there. And so I got this, I think it's called like Monet's Garden. I wish it was listed here. I think it's called Monet's Garden. I'm not actually positive, but it's this really beautiful yarn. I thought this was sock yarn. I thought this was sock yarn. It is like a fingering weight yarn, but it's a 2-ply 100% merino. So there's no way I'm going to put this on my feet. It's going to destroy itself immediately. It will like melt off my feet because I'm really hard on my socks. And so my friend gifted me this yarn. It's the Gadifra Laura Superfine Alpaca, and it's an alpaca cotton blend. But I just felt like it wasn't enough. Like she didn't have enough for me to use up this whole skein of yarn. So I wanted to do a mohair that actually I could use like the full skein. And I wanted to tone down some of these colors a little bit because it's speckly and it's cute, but I thought it might be a little too speckly and too much. So because this is 400 yards, I got 2 of the Knitting for Olive ballerina soft silk mohairs, and these are 225 meters per 25 grams. So pretty good quantity there in terms of coverage. And I can finally try out the Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair because everyone talks about it as like the best version, and it certainly feels really, really soft. But I'm also like not particularly sensitive to mohair. I mean, maybe I'll be able to tell the difference, and maybe I'll finally be able to wear it on my neck, but it does still feel like a silk mohair. I mean, it's not the softest thing in the world. You know, like it's soft, but it's still definitely prickly. But yeah, if you have any ideas on what I can make with this, I don't want to make another neckerchief, but I'm out of ideas because I don't want to make a hat. And I don't want to make socks, so it really just feels like it has to be a neck accessory, or I just have to knit this into a bigger project, like a shawl or something like that. So yeah, these are more acquisitions, and this was an acquisition even though it was a gift, so it was a free acquisition. And honestly, these are all so similar that I feel like I could get away with blending all of them together. Okay, and then the last thing is my cotton merino that I didn't get to show you, and it also is like a lot lighter than it looked in the pictures. Like in the pictures on the Wool Warehouse site, these were almost black, and I got them, and they're definitely just green. But I don't think it's that bad, and I don't actually wear that much green. Sorry, is that the glare is not good? Yeah, I don't actually wear that much green. I don't think it's like a fantastic color on me. I don't think it's a bad color on me. And I hate the donuts that Drops Yarn come in. I hate the way Drops Yarn comes. I don't think I'm going to be buying Drops Yarn anymore. I don't know what it is. I keep buying Drops Yarn because I can't bring myself to buy black yarn at an expensive rate. But every time I get Drops Yarn, I like don't want it. Like I don't value it. I don't enjoy it. It just feels like a waste of money, and it's just slightly disappointing every time. You know what I mean? I don't know, but I'm going to use the yarn. I'm just like, I think there's a vision for what I want to do, and then I get the yarn, and then it's not at all the vision that I had for myself, and it's frustrating. Oh, and last thing that I bought during the wool walk, I had 2 more things. One is a pair of Addy Flexi Flips, finally, so I could knit socks. Because I haven't really properly knit socks ever, which is frustrating because I just feel like for someone who knits so much, socks would be a really nice thing to have like on the go. They don't really require that much thinking, especially if you're just doing vanilla socks. You know, it also would allow me to buy more souvenir yarn without feeling the need to buy like more than one, because a sock can just be like one skein of yarn, and it's a special skein, and then they can be your, you know, whatever socks, right? Like your Portland, Oregon socks. Or whatever. And I am trying to become a sock girl. And I think it just makes a lot of sense because I also, as a smelly foot person, would benefit from a wool sock, but I've never done it. And I think the Flexi Flips might be the solution to my problems. I just don't know yet. So I've never really tried them out. I was gonna cast on a sock yesterday to figure them out. And then I started knitting the champagne cardigan, and it was just like a lot more comprehensible, and it required a lot less thinking. And so I'm currently doing that, and I don't want to stop and cast on something new right now. I just think that would be like too much stuff for me. So that was new. And then finally I bought some really cool buttons. Yeah, no, these just look like candy. They're so freaking adorable, and I think they really match my cardigan right now. But they are actually like, they look like a solid button, but they are actually like a negative space button. Like there's actually, my skin is poking through that right there. It is a spiral. They're spiral buttons. I mean, they're so freaking cute. I bought 6 of them. And the lady who ran the store had really, really impeccable taste in buttons, and she was like, I do have good button taste, I really do. And I have more coming in next week. And I'm scared because these buttons were really expensive. They were like $4 a piece. And I think they'll make a really special object. I was thinking clematis vest. Huh? Like, could you imagine? I think that would look really cute. I just think the clematis vest could really easily look ugly on me. So I'm a little bit worried about the outcome, but I think the vision is there. Like, I think the vision for the vest is, like, it's happening and it's there, and I would love for it to, like, come to fruition and be, like, really adorable and very beautiful, and I would treasure it forever. I just don't know if I have the confidence to go for it now. But anyway, I think that is it. It has to be it, because I need to clean up. My husband is coming home from work, and I need the house to look more presentable. Thank you so much for watching and sticking around. I'm sorry if I've been flaky and stuff, but yeah, this has been fun. I'm always, like, happy to be here to catch up, and it always keeps me accountable to report on my progress and to show you guys what I've been up to. Knitting has gotten easier. I feel like I've gotten better at knitting, which is, like, crazy to say a year and a half in. Because, yeah, like, obviously I would be better at knitting now than I was before, but, like, I'm looking at the stuff that I'm making and I'm like, yeah, this is, like, a real, like, freaking garment, and I can wear it in public and not feel embarrassed, or, you know, like, that there are holes or anything like that. Like, it actually just has, like, no mistakes, and I'm really pleased with it. So, yeah, we finally reached this point in the knitting journey, and I'm really excited about that. I'm excited to always share my gifts with other people, and it's just, like, a really healthy outlet. I am reinvigorated by other people's discussion on diversity and inclusion and everything, because it just feels like for a while I was talking to the void and, like, it didn't really matter what I was doing, but now I feel like, oh, maybe, like, I should continue to do this thing, even if, like, only a handful of people are watching. Maybe it makes a difference for them. So yeah, hopefully this was entertaining, and if not, then it's good for me, and I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.